Welcome back. So in part 3 of our video series, what we're going to be going over is Angular resolves. So when we're storing our variables in our local storage, that's great and all, but how are we actually going to determine when we close the app and reopen it whether the user is actually logged in? Now, what we can do is we can run an API call as soon as we load the app up, but if we do something like that, what we're going to see is a very odd flash of like non-logged in behavior followed immediately by logged in behavior, and that's not going to look very nice. So what we want to do is we want to actually check if the user is able to be logged in before we actually start up the app and show to the user. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that using resolves. So what is a resolve exactly? So resolve is a property that we can attach to our routes. Basically what that means is we can pre-process some data and pass it into our controller through the actual route beforehand. So let's dig in and let's see how we actually go about doing this. So if we take a look at our app.js file, our route provider here, we see our main route for our app. It uses the app controller and it actually displays the main menu. So this is our most top level route and our most top level controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the resolve in here so that we actually compute it before we show anything. So you can actually see the resolve statement here. I added it to the end of the state, and now the resolve name is logged in, and what it is, we're using the user.checkToken function. Now, I'm going to show you guys what that is in the API side without actually covering that stuff, so sit tight for that, and we'll go over that soon. But for now, just know that the user.checkToken function is actually going to return true or false based on whether the user has logged in and the information is saved in ng storage or not. So from a phone perspective, if we look at the check token function here, the first thing we do is we check if the local storage token is available. Now we do that using the hasOwnProperty function. That's a JavaScript function. You can check that out if you'd like. As well as the user ID is in the local storage as well. So if both of those are in there, we're going to run a test to make sure that these actually match up with something in our API. But if they're not available, we're just going to return false automatically because we know the user isn't authorized yet. So once we do our post function, we pass the local storage user ID and the local storage token into that. And if it returns a result, we're going to return true, because if it doesn't, it's going to be returning an error. And if it returns an error, we're going to want to delete the invalid user ID and token, and we're going to want to return false. So that's the check token function. It's actually going to return a promise, and on the app side, this is going to wait until a promise completes before it actually shows you the menu. So the next part we're going to look at is the controller. Now, if we take a look at our app controller, which is where this is going to take place, you'll notice that I injected is logged in to the controller. So that is logged in is going to be the value that's passed back from this function. So that's going to be either true or false. And all that we do on the controller side from there is we actually just update the logged in value in scope to is logged in. So if they're logged in, that's going to be true. If they're not logged in, that's going to be false. So in addition to that, what I just want to go over right quickly is I want to show you guys the API call that I'm actually performing. So if we go into my API call here, and that's going to be an app routes.js, and we're actually going to do a search for auth login, and we're going to see that right here. So all I'm doing in this case, this is a very primitive token, and all it is it's another model I created, and it just contains the user ID and the token. Now, how did I generate the token? The token was actually generated using login. So if we check that out in my API login, you'll see token was created using this line, and all this is doing is it's just creating a 32-character random string. So if you guys want, you can copy that out, and if you want it to be any different from 32 characters, you just change it here.